That, to a certain extent, Ginny, goes some way in addressing one of my other questions, which was, the notion of happiness is so variable and subjective, right? So what makes me happy may well not make you happy, or a friend of ours. And I guess then you have these different domains to try and register how we're feeling psychologically as part of a larger community, through maybe perhaps through our employment, our jobs, and are we being fulfilled in those ways? Does that sort of level out the variability between individuals, having these larger domains to sort of focus our thinking?
Yes, I think it does. And also, in a way, what makes you happy and what makes me happy are not different. I also teach and write about personal happiness and personal well-being, and so it's clear to me that personal happiness, again, based on all the great research that's being done out there, is both universal and unique. So there are a lot of, sort of overarching statements that can be made about personal happiness. Like you said at the beginning about relationships.
Right.
We need relationships to survive.
Sure.
So relationships matter. The Surgeon General under Barack Obama, a fellow named Vivek Murthy, and he issued a paper talking about how incredibly important happiness is to health. He said personal happiness is just as important to our health as quitting smoking and watching TV, just as important. And he pulled out 4 specific aspects of personal happiness and well-being that he said matter to everybody, including having a meditation practice,
Wow.
exercising regularly, having strong relationships, and being generous. So there are, it plays out differently in each of our lives, but there are actually a lot of generalities that apply to all of us, human beings, because we're biological creatures and we're all wired more or less the same.
Sure.
So that's the first piece. On the systems level, I don't think there's been quite as much research putting the personal happiness together with policy, but there's been some, and in Bhutan, what they did was something we will never do here. They conducted 6-hour interviews with every adult citizen.
Wow.
To determine what really leads to the greatest happiness for the citizens of Bhutan. And so they had a tremendous amount of data, and from that data about what really creates happiness in Bhutan, that's how they created their domains. So we're in the process right now, Gross National Happiness USA, of doing our own research combined with other researchers in the United States to really hone in on those areas that apply to this country. There are some researchers in the field who don't even like the word happiness. They like to say positivity or well-being. But to me, I'm happy to own happiness. And I refer to another person who I think was, at least at one point, probably pretty well known in your part of the world, Tal Ben-Shahar, who taught the first positive psychology classes at Harvard. And they were the most popular courses ever in Harvard's history. Tal, I've had the good fortune to study with him. And Tal talks about happiness as being the ultimate currency. It's what we all want. It's what we want for ourselves, but it's also what we want for others. So that's really the end game. And everything else is moving us towards the end game. Why do we want these other things? Because we want more happiness. So I think in so many ways, when we're happier, we're kinder. We're also kinder when we're also happier when we're kinder. They feed each other, and you just get into a virtuous cycle of being a better person.
Right.
So anybody who approaches this from the point of view of it being frivolous should just dig a little deeper and see far from it.
Right.
Far from it. It's the best thing we can do for ourselves and the whole darn planet.
All right. Uh-huh. Fair enough.
The other piece that's really encouraging about the walk, so we have thousands of interviews now, and again, we started out in Vermont, we went down the East Coast to Jacksonville, turned west in Jacksonville to LA, and now up the West Coast.
Yep.
So we've talked to people of all political beliefs, all ages, religions, colors, I mean, just everybody.
Yep.
And really, the answers are mostly the same,
right,
which is encouraging because we see ourselves as such a divided country.
Right.
But you know, when you strip away the current political rhetoric underneath, we all want the same things.
Right.
And so that's very beautiful. And when I think about where we might be going, you know, this whole shift to a new happiness paradigm has the potential of being really unifying.
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter if you're in Boston or if you're in Texas. You're likely to say, what matters most to me is my family.
Sure.
Or what matters most to me is service to my community. Or health, or music, or my God. We're not that dissimilar.
Right.
We're really alike. That's one thing. And then I would get back to the fact that I think it starts with us, ourselves. There's a quote from the Dalai Lama that I just love, and I have to paraphrase it, but the Dalai Lama said something along the lines of, we are meant to worship each other, or no, we're meant to love each other and use things. The problem now, we are loving things and using each other. And we all need to make that shift in order to have a sustainable future and a happy future and to move away from the mess that we're in right now.